The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, guys, it's Darren with BobCAD Training here, and we're going to be going over 2D CAD and CAM today. Just throw a quick chat up there if you guys can hear me okay, and we'll get going. All right, well, let's go ahead and get going here. Good deal. Thank you. All right, so again, we're going to be going over 2D CAD and CAM here. We're going to go over some administrative stuff here real quick. So let's go here. I'm going to bring over the screen here. So if you haven't been to our website, here it is right here. What we're, a couple of things in here you might want to check out is our training right here. We got an overview. Let's just check that out real quick here. So we are doing traveling. We are having people come down to Florida, doing in-houses. We are doing seminars again. Next one we got is coming up here in Milwaukee at the end of September there. So yeah, you can definitely check out our website here. Go to the training. We got on-site seminars here where you can just click on learn more. What's on site there for, or you can specifically, look for, certain ones there. Again, we're doing on sites where we're coming out to your facility. There goes the seminar for Milwaukee coming up on the 22nd to the 25th there. Actually, it should be the 23rd to the 25th, but that's okay. 22nd is actually my fly day when we're all coming in, or if you're staying in there. Anyways, that's it right there. Yeah, we got that. We got, like I said, we got on-sites, we got online training. So if you do have any hours on your account that aren't expired yet, go ahead and give our office a call, and we'll get you lined up for some online training on there. And if you want to purchase anything, you can always do that also. Also, here we have our support site. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and fill out the free access. Give our technical support guys a call. They'll get you set up on the whatever license system you got there, either Advantage or license-based, whatever it is on there. So with that, you go ahead and log in with your username and password. And then I'll give you, if you got, either a license base or a Advantage plan, there's gonna be difference in there, but the similarities are in the updates and stuff. So let me go here real quick. Virtual training videos on the left-hand side. This is our pre-recorded videos that we've had in the past. You can see here what they are, all T1, T2, and T3s if you guys want to watch those, or go back on any one of them there. Also, we have our updates here, software updates. So again, I'm going to be working in 33. If you're running 31, 32, you should be fine. 30 or below, the only difference going to be really is the CAD side on there. The CAM should be the same. I'm not going to go really over anything new in the 33 that, 32, 31, and below don't have. So in here, you got to make sure you're on BobCAD-CAM. For 33, here's our latest build, 3975. Make sure you're up to date on that. On there, you can go ahead and download it from there. Same thing with 32. You're up to 30. The last build for 32 was 3613, and 31 is at 3281 there. And just hit the downloads right there, and you should be good with that. Also, we have here our post-processors. So we got two sections here. We got request post-processor and download post-processor. If you know your customer ID, go ahead and put that in, or put in the number you think it should be. What version are you running? 31 to 33 right here. And machine type mill router. And then what kind of mill router are you running here? So if you're running, 2 or 3 axis, 9 times out of 10 these posts are going to be online. Should be good. there are maybe some things that you need a little tweaked in there. Get a hold of our tech guys. If if it's real easy, they'll go ahead and do that for you. Like sequence numbers or something like that. They'll go ahead and take those out for you. But if it becomes a whole laundry list, we might need to get into our post guys so they can get that all set up for you. And they're really good also on there. So a lot of times it's just tweaking on there that may be done, but if there's anything that you do need, and let's see, let me hit brother here for example. A lot of them will show up with the sample program down here, so go ahead and cross-reference with what you guys got to what we are outputting. If there's IJ values here, if you need those to be R or line moves, let us know. We can go ahead and change that for you real quick, that kind of stuff in there. Next is our post-processor request form here. So you can fill everything out on the left-hand side right here. Name, address, phone number, email, what version are you running, machine type, controller, make and model. That's really all we need on there. If you can get us the rest of this stuff, probably not dealer contact if you don't know any of that. That should be fine. But, year and make of the machine, that'll be handy for us. And also, any notes that you need in there specifically for your post-processor. We're also going to need a list of G&M codes, even though we know it's Haas or Cincinnati or whatever, brother, or Mitsubishi. We like to have what G&M codes that you're using on your machine that work on your machine, just so, because we do make a folder for you or file. So, if there's any modifications that need to be done on there, on that post-processor, we don't have to go looking for it. We got it all in one place there. So send over a list of G&M codes, and also we're going to need a sample program. Our posting guys do require just one, but I always say send in 2 or 3 if you can. It's just easier for them, and just basically one shot on that, if we can. They get you a post-processor out, in a good time there. Sometimes when you do send it through like this, you fill out all the information, you attach your file here, make sure you compress it into a zip folder on there. It still may be too big, so what you'll end up doing is downloading it or uploading it to a drive, some sort of cloud-based drive there. Share us the link and we'll be able to retrieve it from there. If you want to, you can also download it and print it out. Excuse me, if you want to, so you can handwrite it, and then you can go ahead and scan it back in or take a picture of it, and we'll get that all set up for you on there. And I think it just, multi-axis. That's why I grabbed the wrong one. So I was looking on there, in the middle doesn't have all that. Anyways, that was my fault, just to show you. 3-axis, that's what I was looking for right there. So yeah, it's not much that we need on there. The kinematics of your machine, if we can get those travel limits, that would be great on that. So, if you can get us that, we'll kind of make you a generic looking, if you don't have Machine Sim Pro, a generic kinematics of your machine with all your limits on there and stuff. So we got that in there. And that's our under our support site there. You got, training options all right there. We also do have a forum. Not only are we using, Instagram, Facebook, I don't even think we're on Twitter. I don't remember anymore. I know we're on Facebook a lot because I get all the notifications there. Anyways, this is a great resource. It's a free registration. Also, there's, not guys just in the U.S., but all over the world that are on this right now. So, if, you got a question or something, not only will you possibly get an answer from somebody in BobCAD, but you'll probably get somebody around the U.S. or the world there with that. So, and we're looking at this daily too on that. All right. So any questions or anything so far? All right, so again, I'm going to be working in 33 here. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I don't want to butcher it, so thank you. Yeah, I'm not even trying to pronounce that. I'm sorry about that. So again, I'm going to be working in 33 here, so Let's just start over here at File. So File, this is where you can open up a new document. We can open up an existing file. When you do that, we open it up as a BobCAD file. That's our native there. But if you hit the drop down here, these are all the different file extensions that we do import into the software here. So we got, SolidWorks part files, step files, STL, any, two types of Parasolid, XT or XP on there, SAT, AutoCAD, DXF, DWG, IGES files, those kind of files that will open up within the BobCAD software there. So if you need to, you can always go File, Open, find the location of where it may be at, desktop or download, something like that, wherever you put it on there. Also, we have here is our save option. So we got save and got save as. Save as is initially if you want to save out something, rename it, relocate it. You'll do a save as and then do that. Then the save you can just arbitrarily do whenever, on there, and they'll save to that location and that file extension also. You got merge here. Merge will let you merge in files if you need to onto one workspace or work document there. Close will close all the whole software down. We got our print section. Print will allow you to print the CAD screen. We have updated this since the last build of version 31. So if you guys are running 30 and you're having issues with the build, make sure you're on the latest build for 31 on there, and then 32 and 33 should be good. The only thing that I just don't know, and you probably won't know either, what's going to be best as far as print scale here. So you got fit all scale 1:1 and drawing scale right there. Recent files. Here's all the recent files, and if they are stored locally on your computer here, you will see a image of it on there. So you can see I got a lot of them here on there. So there's all my recent files, and you'll notice down here number of recent files default is 25 on there, so you can put in number 1 if you want, or 15, whatever you want to do. Then we have our user profile. User profile allows you to set up the profile of your BobCAD here. So After Dark, I believe, is the standard that comes when you first get the software and download it and open it up. But you can set up your own layouts here. Like I got rid of the, I'm using Office Silver. I use it a little darker just because I'm on this a lot all day long. So I like to have a little darker screen there with that. So, and I've also seen people using the real dark, like black, almost like AutoCAD type theme there, using that. Then we got selection mask. This is your selection mask, which I got up here in the home section here. I took mine off my screen here, my CAD screen, but if you want it, you can either have it on the bottom or right or left side if you want. A lot of times, because I'm traveling a lot, I don't have much real estate on my laptop here, so, more real estate, better off I'm going to be able to teach class with that on there, with that. But yeah, you can move those around. You can also save it out if you want and, transfer it over to another seat or somebody else that has 33, they can use that profile too if you wanted to. Then we got our help section. This is where if you, let's see, we've got our help topics here. I'll go ahead and open that up. Help topics is updated periodically if you have the online version on there, and they've done a lot of updating on as far as trying to find something if you need to. It's like CAD, you got all your different CAD 2D creation. There it is, all right there. From utilities all the way up to the 2D ribbon here. What's in each one of them here, and then if you click on point. It's going to go in a whole section of points here, different types of points, sketching them, that thing. Just just as an example, point on entity, there's everything about point on entity on here. So our help file has gotten a lot better. Like I said, it's updated periodically. And I understand that some companies out there probably aren't allowed to go online. So in that case, you'll have the offline version here, and this is what it's going to look like, kind of our old generic looking setup here. And this one's updated every build and everything, so you're not losing much on there. It's just when any information comes out, it's usually a little different on there. But yeah, you can still find everything that you need in there. So that's if you do have the offline version. We got it getting started there, where you can learn by example here if you want. We got Pro, Mill, Standard, and Express, depending on which toolpath you got there and what you want to learn. We got our tip of the day on there, which for some reason that button's not working there. But yeah, you can see it right here. It's actually, I'm used to the little box showing up, but they changed that now to, you can see, hold your control key down, left mouse button, and select, an area for zooming in and zooming out on and stuff. But if you hit that, it'll show you, it'll just rotate through all the tip of the days that we do have. Activate and transfer license is where you don't need to get a hold of BobCAD anymore since I think version 30 there, or 29 maybe, or maybe about 29, 30. Anyways, you can activate your license, you can deauthorize it. Now if your computer crashes or you have, something happens to your computer, you still got to call into the tech support and they can deauthorize it from their end there. But if you're transferring it, taking the license home for the weekend or something like that, you can transfer license, which is deauthorization. Just follow the prompts all the way through and you'll be good for that. Then activate it using the same license ID and password on there. Just make sure that when you do deactivate it off one computer, make sure BobCAD is not open on the new computer. And then once you deactivate it on the computer that you're transferring it from, go ahead and shut the software down after you're done with everything, and then open it up on your new computer and then activate it from there. That does catch guys off guard, and then, they're like, why is it not working? It's because it's open. It still thinks it's registered on there. And we got show license status and other licensing tools that, you may not have in there. I won't go through all those. Over here on the right-hand side, we got our build here, what version we're running, what build number we're on there. How come that just doesn't look right anymore? But anyways, I'll check that out later. Your license agreement and system info on there. Next, we have our settings. Settings is where you have, if you're running 32 or 33, it's going to look like this. If you're running 31 or below, you're going to do settings part and settings default on here, where we just combined them all together now here. So system has all our general information with our directory, backups, autosave, keyboard and mouse functions here, so you can set those up when you need them. If you run in a 3D mouse, you can do that. You can have that set up options in there. CAM tree flyouts, we'll go into a little bit of that here in a little bit here. And then data collection. Data collection is when you have, what we're doing is our development guys are picking up anonymous. Now remember, it's anonymous. We have no clue who you are, where you're at in the world. Information of what you're picking up on the BobCAD here. So, in case there's something, that's maybe on the fence, some sort of CAD function key, they'll look at the data on that, and if nobody's pressing that button for the next 3 or 4 months, they may get rid of it in the next update or next version that comes out, on there. So it just all depends on there. But like I said, you can opt out of it if you want on there. Just because I go through a lot of the buttons on here, I don't want to skew their data in there. But like I said, they don't know who you are or where you're at in the world on that. And then we got our customized ribbon here. So 31 does not have the customized ribbon. 32 and 33 and moving forward does on there. It was one of the biggest things because the guys in 30 and below, you were able to do that. Just 31 did not have that in there. So you can create your own ribbons in there if you want. You can also, if you don't use 2D or 3D at all, you can uncheck that and you can get rid of that Create 3D and everything inside that Create 3D. on there. You can actually come in here and, decide which ones you want to get rid of in here. So you can, new group, you can delete it. If you want, if you don't want a certain section in there, just go ahead and uncheck it right here and it'll just get rid of the whole group in there for you. You can also add your own groups, so you can create your own in here. You can add a new group, new tab on there, and you can bring them all over so you can see them all in one ribbon here. So you got those options if you want to. Shortcuts. This is where you can set up any shortcuts if you want. We do follow Microsoft rules. So Control-N, is new. Control-O for open. Control-S for save. Control-C, X, V for paste on there. I made one here for select mode. So instead of coming up here to my document toolbar right here and clicking on select mode, or on the home tab right here and hitting select mode, I changed it to Control G. So, if I, for example, delete, if I do Control D, you can see right here, currently assigned to unassigned, so it's not anywhere on there. I'm going to assign it now. So anytime I want to delete something, a piece of, 2D, 3D geometry or something, Control D on there. So it's just that easy on there. Then we got our document and document defaults and current documents, which in 31 and below is either settings part and default. Now with this, you got your units, what kind of units you want to set up. Are you using standard or lathe coordinates? Display. You can set up colors on here that you want, or you can use the predefined ones that we got in there, or default settings ones in there. You can see I changed my background to a gray color. You can change your selections. I changed my solid to, a green color there on that. So you can definitely do that. Just this past week, I was in Detroit for a seminar, and I had two guys wanting to know how to change all their colors because they were both colorblind. One had a more severe than the other one, but they were both colorblind, to say the least there. But anyways, they were excited about this because they knew they could do it. They just didn't know where to do this from. So they were good. So they went in and started manipulating all the colors in there so they can see them fine on there. But I pretty much keep mine at default. Again, you can do whatever you want here if you need to. Like I said, I've come across, especially this past week, two guys that that are colorblind, that's not a past tense here, but are colorblind, excuse me, and they're I just showed them how to change everything around there. You can also show up your axis and gnomon if you want to get rid of them or hide them. Quality, shading quality on there, you can, by default, I think it's way down here, but if you jack it all the way to the far right, you'll get a crisper line selection on there. You'll get a better visual on your solids and stuff on there. And then you got, your solid lines, your UCS plane display, your orthogonal selection on there. You can all, mess around with those if you want. Anything that you do in the defaults here, you can come down here to this little button that says apply to documents, hit that, and it'll convert it over to your current documents. Or if you go under current documents, you got to apply to defaults. So basically it's just a one button, one shot, one kill in there. So unfortunately, if you're running 31 or 31 or below, you're going to have to go through settings part and then settings default and set everything up. So anything I set up in here, I can just hit here and, it'll revert over to either default or document, whichever one I'm on. Your CAD tolerances, snap increments, you got those options you can mess around with if you need to. When you open up the text in the 2D here, what do you want to show first, Windows or BobCAD on there? Window fonts are, we'll pick up whatever you have on your computer. So if you downloaded any TrueType fonts and then installed them into your Windows folder, we should be picking them up in our BobCAD here, or in Windows selection here. BobCAD fonts are ones that we've created, and you can set up initial heights and angles, slants, ratio, and text vectorization. And you can also set up what kind of style of point style you want to utilize here if you want to use that. Dimensions, how do you want your dimensions to look when you come up here? I set mine, I think by default it's 0.1969, something like that. I put mine at a 1/2 inch, and I'm using Helva on there. That's a single line font that I really like to use on there, and I've come across a lot of people who like to use that too on there. So I set that up as my default now. Not using any extra zeros or tolerances or anything like that. You got my decimal coming out 4 decimal places on there. Same thing with the arrows and my leaders here. I can choose, what kind of arrows I want to utilize, length and width, what kind of parameters I want to set up for my positioning and leaders here. I can do that. And then I got my CAM tolerances, simulation, and default machining order I can set up. So anything that I change up in here, make sure you come down here, hit the button, and you'll convert it over on the other side on there. From that, we have our exit. So exit out of the simulation. So moving on here, we got our home tab. This is all our different editing, selection, quick selection, modify, selection mask, and turning mode. So if you don't utilize any of the shortcut keys, you can come into the home tab and you can delete, copy, paste, or cut in there. Our different selections in there. Again, you can select mode, you can clear all, select all if you want. Control A doesn't select all also, by the way, on there. And then we got our pick and match by layers and colors in here, and radius styles, line styles. So if you got like a million things on your screen here, as far as 2D geometry, and you want to pick all the same radius or something like that, you'll just come in here, pick and match by radius, and you'll just select one radius, and it'll select all the radiuses on your screen on there. Then we got our modification here. So, and remember, anything that you hover over here, it will kind of show you or give you a description of what it is in here. So the, edit and modify allows you to modify, like circles, unvectorized text, what else? Oh my God. Oh, shape library, that kind of stuff in there. It'll let you go in, back in and modify it. But we also got a CAD tree history that will do the same thing also here. We can, modify colors, layers, point styles, that kind of stuff if we need to on there, whatever you want to use it for. And then we got our selection mask here. So, basically what this is, if I got like a million points on the CAD screen here, and I got a mix of different 2D geometry and 3D geometry on here, and I just want to pick up all the points. So instead of going in there one by one, I can go into select mode, choose just my points here, and window select over the whole thing, and it'll just pick up all my points. Nothing else on that screen. And then if you're running a lathe, if you want to use, this is just for the CAD side and CAD side only, turning mode. You can see down here it actually changed from Z, X, and Y to, that's our lathe coordinates, to now standard X, Y, and Z coming out towards us on there. Let's see. I'm going to skip over 2D here. Let's get into utilities here. I'm not going to worry about 3D today. That's going to be on Thursday. If you guys want to come into that, or if you guys are, taking an early Labor Day weekend, have fun. Have a good Labor Day on there. So utilities. This is where we got our move option in here. So we got translate, rotate, mirror, scale. Scale allows you to uniform scale X, Y, and Z simultaneously there, or non-uniform, where you can do X, Y, or Z, or you can have different values for each one of them. Not going to worry about a line because that's new for 33 and moving forward. We got other different trim and extend features. So we got quick trim. This allows you to select 2D geometry and trim it to an entity or a break line. Trim 1, trim 2 allows you to either trim one line to a certain distance out on your CAD screen. Trim 2 allows you to trim 2 pieces of geometry together on there. And then we've got the modals here and the strings and trim screens on there will let you trim or extend a lot of these options in there also. Then we got our break options where we can break many, break entities. This is where you choose 2 pieces of geometry to break that entity. Break many usually works well if you just window select everything and it'll just break it from there. We got our break screen. We can divide and break our wireframe on here, and then we can break angles if we need to. Then we got our different adjustments here. So equalize lets you equalize, certain chains up to, putting in, like if you want to break a line into like 4 sections, equalize will let you do that on there. Drag and deform, I use mostly, when I do use these, I use them mostly in like Bob Art on there, and we do have a Bob Art class coming up here within the next couple weeks on there, and you'll see me use those if I'm actually teaching that class there on that. And then we got our stretch function where you're allowed to stretch geometry, 2D geometry, X, Y, or Z if you need to. Then we got our clean up and optimize or reorganize section in here. So we got the explode. We'll explode any 2D geometry into, lines and arcs if we need to on there, or an explode in a spline and make it into lines and arcs if we need to. Then we got to erase doubles and make arcs tangential in there. These are, really good options. I don't use them too much anymore. I mostly use this clean up and optimize because it'll combine these two plus the clean up and optimize in your selection in there. So it kind of does 3 things all at once in there. A little dialog box will show up and then go from there. Then we got our reverses. If you need to reverse any surface normals or contour any chains in there, you can definitely use those in there. Then we got our evaluate section. This is our different measurement options in here. So you got your regular dimensions. This works, whatever UCS you're working with. So if you do want to make any prints or something on there, these are going to be your best ones in here. So you got horizontal, vertical, and I'll show you how some of these work in here. Other distance, radiuses, angles, auto on there. Auto does a couple of different things where it allows you to do horizontal and vertical or a point on there. And then you got your different orientations in there. We can also create nodes, again, if you want to print it out. Your cross hatches, if you want to use those. And you got your remove and modify any of your dimensions here. And then you got measure 1 and measure 2. Those become my 2 favorite measurement options. A lot of times I'm not making prints. I'm just kind of making sure, some measurements are doing pretty good in there on there. So I'll just do quick measurements off either one of those 2 in there with that. Also, again, we got our document toolbar right here. So again, if we got a selection, pan, rotate, our zoom window, fit all, our zoom previous, different views in here. So if there's a drop down, you can also see your standard views. We're looking at the top view here, or your ISO view, and I'll use either top view, which we're going to use in 2D drawing, and then when we get into CAM side, I usually use like an ISO 2 view. Different views for your solids. You can your options in here for blank and unblank, higher. These are mostly for, these 2 are for Bob Art only, but you can blank or unblank any 2D, 3D geometry in here. And then we got different normals that we can either look at, surface normals, polygon lines, that kind of stuff in there. Down here, so you got all these tabs in here now. You'll notice I don't have a Bob Art in there, which is good. So if I want to bring up my Bob Art tab in here, now with these tabs, you can move them all around your screen. If you got multiple monitors, you can place them on your monitor. If you want to, I can set it off to the side here. I can set it, right, up, down, left to right on there. You can see where the yellow is going to actually show. Or if I want to add it in, I'll just click in the middle there. So you should have data entry, CAD, and CAM. If you do have Bob Art on your license and you don't see it down here, I just tell guys to go right up to the ribbon up here into a blank area and right click. And I can bring up my Art Manager, which is right here, and I can just drag it and plop it right there on that. Again, you can move these off to a different screen so your CAD screen's a lot bigger if you want to or need to on there. And then, when you close the software down and reopen it, again, it will show up exactly where you left it off at. Over on the right-hand side here, I got my layers. So I got different layers that I can add new layers on there. I can also change the color, line style on here that I need to utilize for the different layers. I can also reorganize them. I can move them up or down if I need to. I got my different UCS or user coordinate systems. So you can see here, I can choose, if I'm trying to draw on the front side or a side or one of my sides here, I can definitely do that. And I can also create my own UCSs too if I need to. But today we're mostly going to be looking at the top side. Posting, this is where all our G code is going to show up at on here. So when we get to that, we'll be able to save or go into one of our editors here, which is going to be the NC editor on there. And we'll go through that here in a minute. And then we got our measure entity. Measure entity, not a lot of people set this or plop this into a section here. Usually when you use measure 1, measure 2, this measure entity will show up, and it usually shows up on the left-hand side right here in the middle of your CAD screen. I use it so often, I just place it right over here, and that's where it stays on there. But you can do whatever you want. Down here on the bottom left in here, we got our different increment or measurements in here. So if you want to run in inches, you can, millimeters or centimeters. Once you go open up a new document, it'll go back to whatever your default measurement is. You can also change the different line styles that you're using and a different color for drawing if you want to or need to. Snap increments, this is a 0.625 or 1/16th of an inch. That's our default number there. So that just means when I'm drawing, let's say, a straight line out of the Create 2D or moving, like a circle, it's going to move every 1/16th of an inch or whatever number I put in here. And I can also turn that off. And then I got, sorry about all that. I'm not going to go into the flyouts. We'll get into a little bit here. And then we got our construction. So in the old version, 30 and below, if you want to draw a straight line for whatever reason, we had a little button in the line section for horizontal and vertical. Now we don't need to because we got little construction lines that will show up, and they're actually really handy to use on there. So from that, we should be good for right now. Let's go ahead and start drawing something. So I got a few projects up here that we're going to do. Stuff, you don't have to follow along. You can just kind of watch there. But a lot of them is just going to be using lines, arcs, and rectangles here. At certain points, I may end up using a point. Probably won't use a shape library here. But yeah, we got our different shapes that you can choose from. If you can utilize that, that's really good to use. And you can also change the dimensions by following the numbers right here. We'll get into, chamfer and filleting and a lot of our booleans here that we can utilize. That'll be good. And then we got our text function we'll get into. And then we got other functions in here. So let's go ahead and start off. Let's see, I'm going to do inches here, so that's good. And let's see, I'm going to get rid of this. So the drawing that I'm going to be doing here, I'll just show you here. The other two I have a print of, so I don't have them out on the computer screen here. But yeah, I'm just going to be drawing this part right here. Pretty easy. Also, I'm going to use hole patterns here also. So, all right, let's go ahead and get going here. So when I draw something, I kind of look at things in a square as much as possible. So like on this one, I'm going to go ahead and go to rectangle here. Now I'm not going to move my mouse out into the CAD screen here. So my overall length is 8. My width is going to be 5.917. Angles, I'm not worried about that. I'm going to leave that at 0. My X, Y, and Z, I'm going to leave at 0. But for this one, I'm going to change my different options in here. So right now we're looking at center. So if this whole rectangle is out in the center here, but I can change it to either right, side, left, on here, I'm going to do bottom left because looking at the numbers, they're all going to work out that way. So I'm going to leave it right there. Now, you'll notice that I moved my mouse out in the middle of the CAD screen is here. So what happens is that, you're showing a preview and your mouse is just following around, or the box is following your mouse around. Don't try to locate it, down in the bottom corner here or center on there. If everything, your base point and your options are coming out right, I'm not going to use any corner types in here. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay. You notice what just happened? It just moved right where I told it to, 0, 0, 0 in the bottom left corner. And then from there, I'm just going to go ahead and say cancel. That's all I need right there. Excuse me. So next thing I'm going to do is, just trying to think here what's going to be the easiest. Yeah, that should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put some points out on the screen here. And you'll see why I'm doing this here in a second. So I'm going to go to points here. And I'm going to kind of hit the fit all here and kind of zoom out. So with the print, way I'm looking at it, my Y is going to be 5.917. And my X is going to be at 1.89. So you can see faintly a little point showing up there. Now again, it's following my mouse around. As long as I say okay, it'll plop right there in the middle of the screen, right where I'm at the top line on there. So the next one I need like 2 or 3 more, is going to be at 4.78. The Y is still going to be the same, so I'm going to say okay to that. There it is right there. I need another one at 5.77. There we go. And my last one I need at 8, all the way over far, right there, and that's going to be up from the bottom, 4.73. There we go. And now just say okay, and then cancel from there. Now, one other thing I need to do here is break this up. So I'm going to go into utilities, and I'm going to go break many. Now I'm just going to window select over this. Now it's going to break it at in between this point and this intersection here. And it'll break this line from this point to this point. And it should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different 6 lines here. So I'm going to say okay. Now if I just hover over it, you can see where they're broken at. And we should be good. There it is. All right, so now I just need to make a bunch of circles in here. So the first, I'm going to go back to Create 2D. First one's going to be easy. Again, I can come down here. I'm just going to use single picking here. I'm going to use center. That's all I'm going to be using on this one. So my X and Y on this one, because I'm going to make that big circle in the center there, is going to be center to center from the left-hand side over to is 2.583 in X. And notice I'm just doing all this stuff right now. And the other one's 2.417 right there. Z, I'm going to leave at 0. I'm going to hit tab. I'm hitting tab, by the way, to get to all these other functions in here. My radius for that one is going to be, actually the diameter is 2.5. I'm going to put 2.5 because that's my diameter, divided by 2. And I'm going to hit tab again on my keyboard, and it gives me that radius of 1.25. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay, because I'm done with that. I'm going to confirm it. Now I need another one at 1.667 radius. 1.667, yeah, on there. And for this one, I'm going to come out to the CAD screen here. Now I'm going to do something. I got to do another thing in here. But you can see I'm hovering over this line right here, and I want to put it in the center right here. So when those nodes show up, I'll just pick the center one, and I'm going to say okay, because once it's in this royal blue still, it's still active. So I can come in and maneuver, X, Y, and Z around and the radius and start an end angle right there. But I'm going to go ahead and actually, 0 to 180. Let's do this. I'm going to do that. Nope, let's do 180 and 360. There we go. Because then I don't have to worry about the other one there. Deleting that all the way. Something different today. I'm going to go ahead and say okay to that. I'm going to go ahead and use translate on this, and I'll show you here in a minute. So I'm going to go 0 to 360 again to get a full circle, because I need 1, 2, 3 more, at least in here. So the next one's going to radius. I'm going to put in at 0.56. And my X and Y on that one is going to be 5.56 for X, and Y is going to be 3.5. And I'm going to say okay to that. The next one is going to be 8 over, and the Y is going to be 1.938. 938, and that radius is going to be 0.583. 583. And I actually need to move it over minus 0.583 on there, because the way the print's showing up on there, it's inside that vertical line. So that should be good there. I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And then my next one, I'm just going to change the Y, because everything else is staying the same, and that's going to be 0.77. And now I'm going to say okay and cancel. Now I'm going to go into line here, and I'm going to choose that snap point to this snap point right there. And let's see. And while I'm here, I can come over here, and I'm going to draw a straight line off there, and you'll notice that there's a dash line showing up. That's my tracking line. So I just want to go past that vertical line right there, and I'm just going to click left click on there, hover over this circle again, get this snap point here, and I'm just going to come here, and you'll notice that there's my XY tracking right there. And then bear with me here. And then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing out to here. And again, doesn't matter how far I go out past this. And we'll come and do something in here. And then I'm going to take this bottom one here, and I'm going to pick that snap point there, and then come down. I want to come back this way to my center. Left click there. It should be good. Now, while I'm in here, I'm going to zoom in on this these two circles here. I need to join those two together. So what I'm going to do with those, I'm going to do what's called a line tangent. So in my line function here, I got these creation options, or I can hit the drop down right here for any one of these two to get to there. And I want line tangent. So I'm going to choose this one here. So I'm going to choose that circle, and you can see there it's making a tangent line right there for us. So it's connecting those two, because we're going to have to get rid of a lot of the stuff in here. So next thing we need to do is we need to move this up. So what I need to do is take that radius, and I'm going to divide that again by 2. So I'm going to go in here to Utilities, Translate. I'm going to go to Y right here. This is my translate amount. And I'm going to go 1.667 divided by 2. And that gives me my new number right here, which is 0.8335. That's how much I need to go up here to here. So I'm going to take that circle, or half a circle, and you'll notice it's picked in between those two lines right there. I really didn't need to do that, but because of where the it doesn't give me on the print, exact, X location on there. It was just easier to put the points here because it gave me those 2 points on there and just break it, and we should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and say okay and cancel. All right, so one more thing we need to do here is put a radius on this corner here, which is under Create 2D. Fill it in chamfer, all right here. So I'm going to pick between two. That allows me, here, let me just go ahead and put in the radius, which is 1.167. And if I select this line and then hover over this one here, you can see it made my radius. Let me go ahead and, now if I would have picked this line and then hovered over this, it would have gave me that, preview. Single select, let me undo here, allows me to either pick this or that, and you can see it's still giving me the same radius there. Chain allows me to hold my shift key down and left click, and it will chain all the way around this part, which, essentially I don't need. So I'm going to go ahead and click X all there. I'm going to do single chain here and just left click there, and you can see it trimmed up for me on there. From there, we'll just go ahead and hit cancel, and then I'm going to go into utilities and quick trim. So I'm just going to trim this stuff all the way. So I'm going to hover over this line right here, and it trims it right up to that point right there. I can take that point, get rid of it. And I'm just going to trim a lot of this stuff away here. Whoops. I already made a mistake. I want to get that line and that line. There we go. And there's no, order that you got to do this in. That should be good there. All right, that should be good. And next thing we need to do is put the hole pattern there. So under Create 2D again, I'm going to go to hole pattern here. We're going to do a circular. You can also do a grid. Now, before I get any further on that, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to plot 2 points here. Let's say okay to that, and hole patterns here. I'm going to erase these here in a minute. I just wanted to point out the hole pattern here. So you'll notice I got points in the center of each one of the holes, and then this one doesn't. The difference is on here, if I hover over one of them, they all select. If I hover over one of these circles, just that one highlights. So the issue is that, if you're doing a drilling, tapping, or whatever operation in there, if you do something, do a hole pattern or a grid pattern, and you don't break the holes up, what your drilling operation is going to look for is this size diameter instead of this size of diameter for each one of the holes on there. So hopefully it'll just air out on you, or you catch it, and then you just go back into your CAD drawing here, go under utilities, hit the explode button, select your unvector holes there, okay, and cancel, and now you'll notice that they are all individual. So that's the difference between the hole patterns on there. So make sure you get the right ones in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete those, and we'll come back to here. So we'll go back into Create 2D, hole pattern here. So we're going to use circular, start and end at 360. Our diameter of that hole pattern is going to be 3.333. Number of holes is going to be 6. And the diameter of each one of those holes are going to be 0.4. And we're going to break the arc on there. And now I'm going to do this in the center, or you can do bottom left. We want center. And I'm going to come over to this bigger circle right here. I'm going to hover over and get all my snap points. And I'm going to choose that center one. And there it is. And I'll just hit cancel there on that. So with that, you'll have, you got your part already drawn up here. The last thing I would do on here is come under utilities and do the clean up and optimize. I don't care if you know this drawing is really good. This is no harm, no foul function here. I'm going to window select over it, say OK. And this comes up. Now this, you can also have solids in here too. So lines, before, after, how many corrections it made, arcs, same thing, total. You can just sit there and say, okay, so it made some corrections in there. What it is, a lot of times you're not going to know on smaller, parts, you will know kind of what they are. And again, this is a no harm, no foul function. So you can see there we go. So the last thing on this, we're going to do a save as, and I'm going to save this to the desktop, and I'm going to call this CAD1, and save that to the desktop as a BobCAD file, so we can use it later. And you'll notice my tab has showed up here. All right. Any questions with that or anything so far? All right, so we're going to go do 2 more drawings here. The next one is, should be pretty easy here. Again, I only got the prints on paper here, so it's just basically going to be a lot of circles. Rotations, there's going to be a lot of rotates and stuff in here, which is good. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Control-N for new. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to change this because both these drawings are actually in millimeters. And everything's going to be done in the center here for this one. So go ahead and do that. There we go. All right, so let's see. So give me my overall. No, it does not give me that. That's going to be a fun one here. Because, yeah, it does not give me the dimensions I need for the outside drawing. Oh, there it is. All right, never mind. All right, so we'll go to Create 2D. I knew I saw it earlier. So, again, everything's going to be based off in the center here. We're not going to worry about any creation options in here. So our first diameter or radius is going to be 154 in diameter. So I'm going to go 154 divided by 2. And there goes my radius for the first one. So my second one is going to be 122 diameter. Yep, 122 divided by 2. And there's my second one. And then 1, 2, 3. The third one is going to be 50, or I'm going to go in here and just put 25. There we go. All right, so on here, I need to, I'm just going to come right here on this circle right here. I'm going to place one right there. And I'm going to make that, what's that diameter? Is 12, so that's going to be a 6 radius. And there's no rotate on here, so I'm going to just say OK to that and cancel. All right, so now I need to take this and I need to rotate it 30 degrees here, set it there, and then I need to rotate it again at another 30 degrees. Yep, that should be good. So I'm going to come over here to Utilities and Rotate. So this is going to be based off the center here. So I'm going to select the circle here. And you'll notice that there's your X, or Y, excuse me. Here goes your X, and then the Z, that's the one we were going to be working on. So Z here, I'm going to put in 30. And I'm going to see something here. I'm going to put in another copy of 2. Perfect. So I don't have to do another one. So I'm going to put in, yep. So we're going to just say OK and cancel on there for right now. Because what I want to do is I want to take that and hit delete on there. So what I did was I just made 2 copies at 30 because they needed to be at 30 on there. So this was 30 and this was another 30 or 60 from up here. So I just, instead of doing 1 and then making a cut, doing it again, I just did 30 and 30 and deleted this one. So now we need to put I need 8 of these total, so, or 4. So I'm going to take these 2, I'm going to rotate it. So it doesn't matter which order you go in here, so I'm going to go rotate, and I'm going to select these 2. Okay, good. There goes my 2 arcs. Now I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go 360 divided by 4 gives me 90 degrees on there. And I want copies here, and I'm going to say I need 4 of them, but I just need 3 more. There we go. And you can see the preview showing up right here on the CAD screen on that. So from there, we should be good. And yep, we're going to go ahead and say OK and cancel. Now from there, we're going to take a line here, and we're going to draw it out from here, and then we're going to rotate that up 30 degrees this way and 30 degrees down that way, because we got to do some trimming around, and then we're going to rotate that around also on there. And we haven't gotten into the inside yet here. So I'm going to come over here to create 2D. I'm going to hit line, and I'm just going to hover over this line right here, and I'm going to go snap point to snap point, and I'm just going to hit cancel. Now, I always like to rotate it just to make sure that line's not coming down this way in Z, which is good. So now I just need to take it here and go to utilities and rotate. And that should be, okay, so that's 15. Okay, so I'm going to take this line, and I'm going to go 15 degrees. And we'll say OK. I'm going to take this line again. I'm going to go minus 30 degrees total now. Make 1 copy. And there we go. And while I'm in rotate, I'm going to take this because they're actually, let's zoom in on here. Oh, pretty good. Okay. I'm making sure those are all connected there. So I'll take those 2. And we go 360 divided by 4. Again, 90. And let's see, let's select that line there too. And we want 3 more copies. And we should be good. All right, so while I got this all set up here, I'm going to go into quick trim. And you can see here, I'm just going to get rid of all that right in there. Whoops. Yeah, the outside here. That's what I need to get rid of. So it doesn't matter which way you do about this on the quick trim on there. Or I could have gone into break many, window selected over everything, and done a break many on this. All right, so there we go. Let me just keep going all the way around on here, and there we go. All right, so now just need to go here. Now, where BobCAD, you can see I'm just left clicking on there. Where BobCAD sees we start our 0 and 360, it's always at the 3 o'clock on here. So you'll see this is actually broken in the start here all the way around 360 and ends right there. So that's why we got to left click on that twice right there on that. So we got the outer side set up already. So now we need to go ahead and put some rectangles in here. All right, so those are going to be, yeah, let's go 12 by 12 on those. Yeah. So go over here to rectangle, and we're going to length is 12 by 12. And we're going to set you right here. And the angle, that just turns this thing around. I want this to go around this whole thing in here. So yeah, we can do that. So I'm going to move, actually, yeah, I'm going to hit cancel and go back into utilities and rotate. Now what I'm going to do is call the chain select here. I'm going to hold my shift key down, and I'm going to left click on any one of these entities 4 lines right here. So I'm going to hold my shift key down and left click. That does a chain select. So if you got a good chain select, you should see everything highlight there. That's by holding my shift key down on my keyboard and left clicking on an entity. So I'm going to go in Z again, 45. And I'm going to say OK to that. Now I want to do that again. So again, I'm going to hold my shift key down, left click, and I'm going to do 360 divided by 4, which gives me 90 again. And I want 3 copies. There we go. So OK and cancel. So now we need to get rid of everything on the inside here. This part of the circle and everything on the inside. So we're going to go to, so instead of doing create or quick trim there, we're going to go to create 2D and we're going to go to Boolean here. So we're going to select our circle and then all our squares here. And I did that all wrong there. So I'm going to select the circle again. Right there. Now I'm going to come over here to my second geometry, which are all going to be these squares here. Hold my shift key down and left click. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to kind of zoom in on this. So with the 2D Boolean here, you got add, subtract, and intersect. So if you can see this through the GoToMeeting here, whatever's orange, that's what's going to stay on our CAD screen here. Whatever's red is going away. So obviously we want add on this one because we want to get rid of this and this whole section in here. But I can toggle through here and you can see what subtract's going to do. Actually, that's not bad. I can do that if I wanted to. Or I could do an intersect. And it's going to just intersect the rectangle and that circle and give me this portion of it. You know what? Let's do a subtract on this one. Yeah, let's do that. Just because we can. There we go. I know the print comes out with an add on there, but I'm going to do something a little bit different on there. So we'll do it this way. All right, so we got this all set up here. So again, before we, looks like everything's good. I got everything I need. I'm going to go to utilities. And again, use my best friend here. Clean up and optimize. And then I can utilize these 2 buttons up here if I need to or want to. So you can see it made some sort of correction in the arc. So we'll OK that. And cancel. Now, before I even save it out, I want to come down here because I got the print in millimeters. I want to go ahead and change it to inches again. So I'm going to come down here. And if I save it out, it's going to open up in millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and just change it to inches there. There we go. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go save as, and I'm going to call this CAD2 now. So we'll go 2, save it to my desktop, and we'll save. Any questions or anything so far? All right, so the last drawing we're going to be doing, again, this one's going to be in millimeters also. But with this one, again, I wish I don't have the part or the print on the CAD screen or on the computer here. I just got a paper one on this one. So I'm going to go new. And I'm going to go ahead and just do a save as right now and call this CAD3. And save as up there. So now I can just hit Control Save or Control S. So I'm going to come over here, change this to millimeters. And yep, so this one is basically stick drawing I'm going to do. So I'm going to go into Create 2D and Line. Now I can do start point, absolute drawing up here, or what I'm going to do, my easiest way is using a length and angle here. So my first length is going to be just straight across at 0 degrees right out here. You can see where that is. My total length on this is 140, so I'm going to go 140 divided by 2. That should give me 70 millimeters. Angle at 0, I'm going to say OK. Now, I'm going to hover over this line here and get the snap point, and I'm going to just draw a line here, and I'm going to draw just straight up. Now, I'm going to come over here to my length because I want that length to be 40 millimeters. So watch what it does off to my CAD screen. Right there, it just changed. And then my angle, I'm going to go, now this has to be the print showing 135. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, so I know my 0 and 360 is at the 3 o'clock. So I'm going to go 180 minus 135, which should give me 45 degrees. So I'm going to say okay to that. I'm going to come over here, get my snap point, and I'm just going to draw a straight line up here. And again, I just drew it a little bit straight up, 90 degrees, and I want this one to be 28 millimeters. There we go. So I'm going to say okay to that. And I'm going to get that snap point, bring it in here. And then again, that one is going to be 180 angle and 28 on that one. And we'll say okay. And I'm just going to keep going here. And that's going to be 14. Yep. And we'll say okay to that. Now this one, I don't have to do any thinking on here because I'm going to go straight across. And you notice there goes my X and there goes my Y. So that length is already done. And actually, let's go ahead and just put in 28 in there. Because that seems to be a little off, and I'm going to double check on that. But we're good now. All right, so from here, I'm going to pick that snap point, and I'm going to come up here. 24, so let's make you 28 millimeters. There we go. And, all right, so I'm going to hold my control key down on my keyboard and push down on my mouse wheel, and that gives me the pan right there. All right, so now I need to make another 45. So I'm going to come here, and, we'll do 90. And this one is going to be 40 length. I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to go 90 plus 45 right there. And I'm going to say okay to that. And then I'm going to make a straight line going back this way, 180 degrees, and that's going to be a 56 on there. Say okay. And this is going to be straight down in Y here, 270. And again, that's going to be a 56. We'll say okay. And this is going to be, and we'll just make sure that's supposed to be 28 total. So we're going to go 28 divided by 2. Should give us our 14 at 180. And there we go. And you can see I already made a mistake right there. So I want to make sure I got these numbers right. So this is actually pretty good. So now I can come over here to evaluate. Now I can do either horizontal or vertical on this one or auto. But I'm going to use this measure 1 here. So with the measure 1, what it does, if I'm on 2D geometry, it shows up with 3 snap points. Top, bottom, and middle. 2 ends and a middle. But I want to know the length of this line. So I'm just going to pick anywhere on that line. Come over here. My total length is 56. And that's what I need. So that's good. So basically this line that I drew, I didn't pick it up on the snap point just right. So I'm going to come over here and go into select mode, window select over that, hit delete on my keyboard, and I'm going to try that line again. So I'm going to go line, pick that snap point, and just come right there, 180. So that's going to be 28 divided by 2. There we go. So now if I kind of zoom in on there, that should look pretty good now. All right. So I got basically half of it drawn already. So I want to go ahead and I need to do the other half on this. So the other half is exactly the same, just a mirrored. So I could go and keep doing this whole drawing and just do it stick by stick, one by one there, line by line. Or if I'm not, if I'm not cheating, I'm not trying here. So I'm going to go to Utilities, and I'm going to go to Mirror. I already got half of it made here. I'm just going to Windows select over all that. Oops, let me try to Windows select again. And you can see it just mirrored around my YZ plane, or I can choose XY. Let me zoom out so you guys can see that a little bit better. XY, or I can pick if I would have had like a line in the middle and, if it was off center. This one I know it's an X or YZ. And I'm going to choose the plane here, which is our top plane. And I'm going to make sure I hit copy here. And then OK. And there we go. So that should be done. I'm going to come over here, change this back to inches, go to my utilities, clean up and optimize, and I'm going to window select over all this. I can hit my check mark right up here. And there goes, made some corrections in my lines. I'm pretty sure what it did was on this one, because I mirrored it over, you see it made this all one entity right there. So instead of having two lines, it made it into one line for us. So I knew that was going to happen there on that one. Any questions with the drawing or anything? So I'm going to go to Control S and save that out on there. All right, so we're going to start getting into the CAM side of this. So right now we're going to look at the CAM tab. So I'm going to just hit 1 here. So in the CAM tab, this is all our default settings on here. So if you downloaded a post processor, for example, you might want to go into current settings here. So let me go through a lot of these functions in here. So post encryption. What that is we can encrypt your posts. If you had something non-standard added into the post or some sort of scripting that our posting guys had put in there for you, they'll usually script it out for you or encrypt it for you. Just so you don't go in there and either mess with it or, do some damage or sell it off to somebody else on there with the same machine on there. We have the unencrypted one. That's mostly what our posting guys will use it for, is encrypt it. You can use it too if you got people that like to go in and mess with the post processor, you can encrypt it, or if you've done stuff that on there that, proprietary or whatever, you keep it for yourself, you can encrypt it. But be very careful with this. Once you encrypt it, it can, and you didn't save a copy of it prior, you could run into some issues there where if you encrypt it and don't have a copy of it, there's no way to unencrypt it on there. So you have to save a copy. So be careful. Every time you make a change, save a copy, unencrypt it, and then encrypt it. And then you can utilize that encrypted one on there just so you have a, a whole thing on there, what you need. So just be careful with using the encryption there. Next we have over here is our external applications, Mach 3, Predator Editor, and NC Editor. Mach 3, if you bought Mach 3 through BobCAD, not third party, and you got a Mach 3 machine, you don't have access to it. Unless you bought Mach 3 through BobCAD, you won't have access to that Mach 3 button right there. That's only if you bought it through BobCAD. Predator Editor, we don't utilize that anymore. We phased that out in 31 on there. But if you still use it, you might have 30 or below on that same computer too. But if you don't have 30 or below on the same computer that you have 31 through 33 on, you will not have access to this anymore. On there, we phased that out. It's a 2005 version. We moved into the NC Editor, which I'm going to open up right now because for some reason, first time it opens up, it takes a minute or two to open up. So after that, it's real quick. Oh, today's being real good. All right, usually it takes a little bit longer than that. Oh, actually, it kind of is. All right, there we go. And we'll get into this one here in a little bit. I just wanted to open it up one time to make sure it opened up for us. And next time I open it up, it'll open up quickly on there. And that's a real nice one. Again, we phased out this one. We went into the NC editor. Again, with the NC editor, we do have the RS2 cabling system in there still, just like in Predator Editor. And we're not going to look at the pro side of it. Even if you do have standard in the NC editor, you do have color combinations on there, where in the Predator Editor, you had to have at least pro to do that. So moving along, we have our libraries. So we got our knowledge base, which we won't get into. That's for 33 and moving forward. 32 and 31 and below won't have that. So we won't get into that one here. Material base, or material library. This has a library of different materials that our development guys went in back in when they were working on version 25. They picked up all these materials, and with that materials in there, you can go in and modify any one of the materials. So here goes the tool material, either carbide, insert, or high-speed steel, HSS. You'll notice that the numbers are changing there. Unless I check that box off, these will all activate. I can change my service peak per minute, my chip load per flute, or my plunge chip load. If you know all that, you can input that information on there. Like I said, our development guys at that time just opened up a catalog with the materials and the feeds and speeds, and they went based on this. So with the material library, it is an 80-20 split. So 80% of the guys say, our feeds and speeds are no good. They're just, they're too slow. They're this and that. I get it. Tools have changed within the last, 10 years, whatever it may be, since version 25. Machines have gotten a lot better, a lot more, just a lot better in general. And then you can run higher feeds and speeds. Now, 20% of the guys are the ones working out of the, their garage. They could be hobbyists, or they got older machines, which is totally fine, and they love the feeds and speeds that we have in there because they work for their machines. They don't have to go in and adjust anything. So again, it's an 80-20 split on that. So again, if you want to make your own, set this up, if you know all this information, go ahead and do that on there. There's resources out there, the figuring out your feeds and speeds, like the CNC cookbook. They got a G-Wizard that you can download for a trial, and then you can pay for it. Or they got one online that's for free that you can utilize. I think there's apps on your phone that you can download to get, certain feeds and speeds, and depending on the material too on there. I think by default, our materials that we use in this software is carbon steel, which again, I chose something different in there. Anyways, but you can see here, you got tool steel, super alloy, aluminum, alloy steel. I made one up here you can add your own group. Notice we don't have a wood group in here, so you can add your own material group and then put in, your own materials. So you can add new material and call it, like pine for whatever reason. And it's a carbide tool instead of a high-speed steel on there. So you can set your own material up on there. Next over is our thread library. Here's all our different tapping groups right there. Again, you can choose whichever one you want to either add or modify on there. So you can add your own threads if you need to, or you can modify any one of the threads on there. Add and modify has the same screen on there, but you'll fill out all the information on there. And you can also add your own tapping groups also. Next we have over here is our adapter library. This is more for the live tooling mill-turn people out there. So you got VDI and side mounts. So again, you can choose one of these, and you can either modify the ones that we do have existing in there, or you can set your own up, or you can import your own from an STL on there. But again, that one's more for the live tooling mill-turn people out there. Holders, again, same thing. You can utilize these if you want. So we got CAT 40, 50, and BT 40s in here. So you can either add or edit one of them in here. So you can, whatever's showing up in yellow here on the outside, that's what's selected. There's a cone right there. On that, you can do chamfers. You can build your own if you want on there, if you don't see any one of these that are used at all. And then we got our tool library. So the tool library in here, so if you're running 32 and 33, you're going to get the new looking tool library set up here. If you're running 31 or below, you got the old version in there still. In here, we made some modifications. So we're just basically, again, remember this is, our default one. So you're going to see lathe, generic, laser, plasma, water jet. Again, for milling, the only thing you're not going to see is lathe when we get into the job setting one in there. So with this, you can come in here. I'm looking at ML Rough right now. Let's choose that one. And I'm going to hit tool parameter over here. This is in a modified state right now. So I can come in and modify this tool, which I did already. I made it from high-speed steel to carbide. I added my own feeds and speeds in here. With that, if you modify or add your own tools, you can add your own feeds and speeds. You don't have to know it by the material. If there's a certain feeds and speeds that you use all the time because you're running aluminum and, you got your feeds and speeds, you can go ahead and set that up right here. And the material can still be the default, which is carbon steel. And it doesn't matter when you go in and set up this tool in the tool page of the machining strategy there. If you add this tool in here, it doesn't care what material you're using. It's going to look at this feeds and speeds because that's what I'm using on that one. So it doesn't matter what material in there. So again, you got two ways of doing it. You can either set it up by the material on there, or you can come in here and modify or add your own tools and set up your own feeds and speeds on there. I come from a wood plastics background, routing mostly. So, my feeds and speeds are going to be a lot different than what you guys run on there. And I think this is the only one I just changed. Again, you can change them on the fly too in there. So again, you got, different ones that you can utilize there. And we got our mill drills and all that. And you can add, you can delete, you can save out. You can also import or export tool library. So if modifying the tool library, you can save it out and you can export it into another computer if you need to on there. DMS defaults. What that is dynamic machining strategy. So when you go into mill 2-axis, you're in the dynamic machining strategy comes up on there. So you'll see something, let's see, mill 2-axis. Let's look at profiling. So when you go into here, you'll mill 2-axis, you'll see, you'll click on profile, and in the current operation, you'll see profile, rough, and finish. Actually, this one's upside down, which is good because on yours, it's going to be profile, rough, and then profile, finish below. I can move these around if I wanted to. There we go. So when I go into there, it should be correct, but I'm going to move those. I'm just going to keep them like this to show you. If you're running like laser, plasma, water jet, or if you're running like a router like I've done in the past here, I'd probably get rid of the finish on mine at least. Laser, plasma, got water jet people out there usually get rid of the rough on there. Because I'm just usually going right to size from there. I'm not going to go in and use a G41, G42 a lot of times or do a finishing pass in there. I'll get to your question there in a second. And I hope I don't butcher your name, just like Mariko earlier, which I'm butchering. Kumar, I'll get to your question there. Hopefully I said that right on there. But anyways, you can, when you get into the machining strategy, you can, choose whatever you want in there. Let's see. Kumar has the question, how do you import tools today, Armada tools in the tool library? Now, what version do you have? I was trying to avoid this one here. Version 33. Good call. All right, so any questions with the dynamic machining strategy before I answer Kumar's question here? And this is for anybody running 32 or 31 or anything below. You might want to get version 33 for this. All right, so let me come back over here. Under my tool library here, if you're running 33, and I think Armada's in there, import from in here, we have this machining cloud. Okay, so let me kind of back up here. Let me jump on the internet here. And do I have it even set up in here? Machining cloud. Okay. So if you're running 33 or our next version's above here, we utilize now this machining cloud. Okay, so it's www.machiningcloud.com. It's a free login, okay, or a free registration. So I'm not going to go through all that part, but you can go here to machine manufacturer, and you can see all the different tool manufacturers in there. So I thought Amana was in there, but maybe they're not, because it is alphabetical order on there. So I guess Amana's not, but you can always request a new publisher in here. Man, I thought they were in here. So you have that option in there, on there. So you got like Kennametal, or, you know, what's another one I used a lot? RobJack on there, ProMax, all these different tool materials in here. So you can choose, you know, what library, search tool from the catalog here, and you can download it. Again, I'm not going to go into how to download it and stuff, but you can choose all your different tools. Kennametal probably wasn't the best one. Let me do RobJack here. But you got solid carbon end mills, drills, diamond tips, router bits and stuff you can choose from. And it's got a whole catalog of different, you know, ball, engraver, square end mills, that type of stuff in there. We got a video on our YouTube, and I think on the BobCAD After Dark how to utilize this too. And we also have on our video series here that we've done on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a version 31 where we did go through all this also on there, or version 33, what's new in version 33, and this is part of it. But since you got, since Amana's not in there, Kamar, what you'll end up having to do, there's not a way to really import, you know, like an XML file or anything in there. You're just going to have to come here and hit add on here, and I'm in drill, which I shouldn't be. Let me go ahead and delete that. Let me go to mills. Again, mills, drills are all, you know, the same setup's going to be, is you'll just hit add right here. And then you just fill out all the information, you know, tool label. If you do something like that, especially if there's specific like Amana on there, you'll probably want to, you know, put in, you know, the number, the inventory number on there, so you can have that, you know, readily available on there in case that tool breaks for whatever reason. So whatever the inventory number is, and you know what the rest of, you know, I think Amana does like AM 6567, whatever that may be, 316 ball end mill. That's how I would have filled it out right here. Tool material, what size, overall length, all that information. And then again, if you wanted to, what kind of feeds and speeds. Kind of a long way around that question there, Kamar, on how to import it. I was hoping the Machine Cloud, I thought Machine Cloud had that one in there. So that would have been easier to go in and download a tool for that in there on that. But yeah, you got a couple of different ways you could do that. You can, you know, request a publisher in version 30 for the Machining Cloud to have those available, or you're just going to have to come in here. And this is for everybody else too. You're going to have to add that tool in there on that. So kind of a long-winded answer on that one. So hopefully I answered that for you on there. You're welcome, sir. All right, so moving on here. Cutting conditions. This is where you can set up all your drills, your pecking, your reams, chamfer, all the information and parameter setups in there on that. So, if you need, again, this is something you don't have to do immediately when you get in there. If you're tired of, putting in, a certain amount of pecs in there, you can set that up right here. Retract, what do you want to do with, what kind of chamfering do you want to do? That kind of stuff. Center drills. If you're using pecking on center drills, what do you want to use? Cut through amounts. And this is always going to default to 50,000s on there. If you don't want 50,000s, you want 20 in there, go ahead and put 20,000s in there or whatever you want. Pank increments, it's always 50%. Maybe you want to do 30. You can put that in there. So you can set this all up. Again, this is stuff you don't have to do immediately, but you can do, eventually, make it a lot easier and a lot faster for you. Job templates, if we were making, doing the same stock over and over again, we'd probably use a template on there. Not worried about that. New job, I'm going to come back here. I'm just kind of going out of order. I'm going to come back here to current settings. New job is where we're going to set up our for our milling operation. We're going to choose whatever machine we're using. I'm going to use BC3X mill the whole time today. We're not going to use any default parameters, and then we're going to go through a stock wizard from there. Let's jump back here to current settings. This is where we're going to set up all your parameters set up. So say you downloaded a post processor from our website. In that executable file, I already put it into the software here for you. So what you'll want to do is choose, if it hasn't been set up already, go ahead and choose whatever machine it is. We usually, if you're running a Haas, we're going to have a Haas machine name. If you're running Cincinnati, we're going to have a Cincinnati in there, or brother, Fanuc OI, we're going to have a Fanuc OI in there, machine name. You'll set that up as your default in there. But also in here, before you set default in there, you're going to set the number of maximum tools if you really want to, your rapid feeds, your maximum spindle speed, and cutting feed rate. Now, be careful of those because we're going to set these up as default numbers in there. So this one's set up for 10,000s. Yeah, spindle speed. I run, on my machine, I was able to run 18, 20,000s on there, spindle speed. So if I didn't change that number to like 25, 35,000 RPMs per minute, it would come out as, I don't care if I put 18,000 in my tool page there, it would still come out as 10,000 on there. So be careful of that. My cutting feed rate, I can always, that's overdone, so we wouldn't have to worry about that. I don't know anybody that goes 500 right now. I'm pretty sure there's machines being made that can go 500 feet per minute on there. But, if I could run, 200 feet per minute. So I would put 200 or 210 in there, and it would come out of my G code. So be careful of that on there. I'm just going to leave it at 10,000 today. Machine definition, this is the kinematics of your machine. So if you do have a Machine Sim Pro, which we won't be getting into today, you can set up solid models for those if you wanted to on there. This is where we're going to set up all your limits also on there too. And they may be, if you downloaded it off our machine or off our website, this is pretty much going to be the default numbers that they put in there. Now you can go in there and change that to, I can go 24 in a negative position or 24 or 36 in a positive direction, that kind of stuff. We do have videos on YouTube. If you type in BobCAD machine definitions in the search, you'll come up with the laundry list of different videos that you can choose from in there, and 3-axis being one of them, setting up the kinematics of your machine. Then we got I'll come back to posting here. Let's jump down here to multi-axis. If you guys have been with me before, never to touch this page. Do not touch it. You should not even look at it or acknowledge its presence in there. Me too. I'm just kidding. Don't mess with this page. This is mostly for our machine, our posting guys. They'll come in and mess with the, setting up if you got like running a multi-axis machine. For some reason, you may need to run TCP on there instead of machine comp 0 or no machine comp on there. So, you know, depending on what you're setting it up for, our posting guys will come in here and mess with it. Now, I would come in here and adjust something, but I'd always go back if I'm troubleshooting a post in a machine that was created. So I may come in here and do that, but other than that, I try to stay away from it. Let's jump back up here to posting. This is where your post and your NC file path are going to be located at. If you downloaded a post processor from our website or got a post from our post department, either they created you one or made you a brand new one or modified one of them, they most likely left the file extension as a .nc. So if your machine doesn't take a .nc, you're going to want to change this here and now as a .gcd, txt, tap, just a dot in some cases. That's where you're going to want to set that up if your machine does not run a .nc on there. Program number, if 100 is the default number, if you want to change that, go ahead and do that right here. But there's other places that we'll be able to choose later on. Then we got our absolute and incremental setting. Post settings, absolute and incremental. It's actually set up in your post. So if you want either, it's defaulted in absolute code, but if you want incremental, let our post guys know. They'll modify it in the post processor to incremental on there. Sequence numbers, if you guys use them, is defaulted to 1 and 1, so it'll be N01, N02, N03, and so on. Or you can change it to, 5 and 5 or 10 and 5, whatever you may be. If you need to output any sub-programs, you got that right here. The use transform plane and 4-axis is if you're running a rotary or multi-axis. And then if you got dog-leg rapiding on your machine that happens on there, you can check that box off and a little piece of code is going to show up in there to try to divert that dog-leg rapid movement. Haas is good for that one on their machines. Then we got our output comments here. So if your posts allow for our output automatic comments, you can utilize this right here with that. From there, anything that you made in any one of the changes in here in definitions, posting, or multi-axis posting, come back up here, hit save as default, and then OK from there. Any questions with that right now? All right, so on this part, we'll go through a stock wizard here. So we'll go to new job. We're going to choose milling. Now, if you got multiple machines, whatever your default or whatever your main machine that you use, that's going to probably be the one that you want showing up all the time. If you got multiple machines, then you can hit the drop down and choose one of these machines that you have in your setup here. I got a bunch of them because, again, I work with a lot of different customers. I'm just going to use the BC3X mill. From here, I'm not going to worry about any templates or anything. And you got stock wizard, OK, and cancel. Cancel will just get you out of the whole thing. OK will put you, set up a whole machining job for you. And if you try to do a toolpath, it'll kick you into the stock wizard anyway. So let's go ahead and just go to stock wizard. Workpiece, this is if you have a solid model on your CAD screen that you want to use to reference in your simulation. You can choose it. It has to be a solid model. I can't choose the 2D geometry. It won't select it. It has to be a 3D model. So we're not going to worry about that. So we're going to go ahead and hit the arrow pointing to the right. This brings up our stock definition page. So here we got our stock type, which is rectangle, cylinder. You can choose wireframe, solid model, STL, or a revolve. Here we're just going to look at rectangle here, and I'm going to do a Control-7, puts me in an isometric view. And you'll notice down here, it's picking up my overall X, overall Y, and because I'm using 2D geometry, the Z on there is always going to be 1 inch. Now, if I had a 3D model in there, it would pick up that Z, but because I'm using 2D geometry, our default number is always 1 inch. So if you want to change that, I'm going to go 0.75 for this one, hit tab, and you'll notice that my Z changed up here. If I wanted to add any extra on my X, Y, or Z, I can definitely do that, and then positive and negative. And if my part was imported or made way out in the CAD screen somewhere, I can choose my coordinate system out there so everything would come out just right. But right now we're down here in the XYZ coordinates and we should be good. So from there, we'll go ahead and hit the arrow pointing to the right one more time. And this brings up our machine 0 or part 0 on this. So you'll notice that you got a bunch of snap points to choose from. So in here, I can go to my origin right here, and I can choose any one of these snap points that are showing up on the screen here. And you'll notice that that XYZ is moving all around. That is our part 0 or machine 0 on there. This is our drawing coordinates, and then this one down here in our bottom left is our world coordinates. So we can keep it up here. If you choose 2D geometry, you'll see all the snap points show up, and I can choose right in the middle of that circle if I wanted to. Let's go ahead and keep it in this quadrant right here. From there, and if I need to, I can change my direction by either, moving the arrows around if I want to on there, or clicking X, Y direction and choosing maybe that snap point for whatever reason, something like that. Or I can hit reset start coordinates right there, and let's see, let's go back over to here. There we go, XYZ 0. From there, we move on down to our work offset. Work offset 1 is our G54, G55, or whatever machine you're running. Mine was a G901, G902 for my work offsets. So, and that'll be set up in your post processor too. And you'll have different work offsets. So this one has 26 different ones in here. You only may have 12 on yours on there. And this is a global one. So anytime I go into a toolpath, milling, drilling, tapping, whatever that may be, reaming, when I get to the posting page, whatever I got set up right here, this is a global one. So if I got work offset 7, work offset 7 is going to show up on every toolpath on there. And I can always adjust it from there also. So we're going to just use work offset 1. The work offset here in the base point, this is if you got Machine Sim Pro. I got Machine Sim Pro. I know some of you guys I'm seeing in here. You guys, I know at least 1 or 2 of you got Machine Sim Pro. I won't call you out here, but this is where you can set up for, your machine being shown on here. When we, right now, it's actually, when we look at it in simulation, the bed is actually from Z0 here down. And of course, everything's going to be working off of that on there. So, I'll be cutting inside the bed, but it should be fine for what we're doing. I'll show you how to adjust that later. Then we got our clearance. Clearance plane is the safety of our tool moving out to position or to the home position on there. So 1 inch is our default number in there. If that's where if you need to change that to something lower or higher, go ahead and do that right there is where we need it. From there, you'll notice that there are no arrows pointing to the right anymore. You just got OK, cancel, and arrow back if you need to go back and adjust the stock definition page or the workpiece if you have a solid model. We'll just go ahead and click OK. And that brings up our job setting here and a new tab called Milling. Any questions with the stock wizard or anything? All right, so let's go ahead and do this. This is a good time to go ahead and take a break for lunch here. We'll come back at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then we'll look in the job section and throw some toolpath on here. All right, guys, we'll talk to you in a little over an hour here.